Welcome to Season 2 of the Parkinson's podcast Unfiltered, with hosts Heather Kennedy and Kat Hill, brought to you by the Davis-Phinney Foundation. Heather is originally from New York and was diagnosed with young-onset Parkinson's in 2011 when she was 40. Kat is originally from a small town in California and was diagnosed in 2015 when she was 48. Heather and Kat have been friends since they met at the World Parkinson Congress in 2019. In this season, Heather and Kat will be joined by Chris Kruger, a Davis-Phinney Foundation staff member who was diagnosed with Parkinson's in 2020 when he was 37. In each episode this season, Heather and Kat will dive deep into the raw emotion and realities of living with Parkinson's as they share stories and discuss questions they've received from people in the Parkinson's community. If you have a question to ask or story to share, please visit dpf.org/unfiltered. That's dpf.org/unfiltered. This week's questions touch on planning for the future, asking for help, and navigating the hard conversations that come with living with Parkinson's. Kat's husband Ken joins the conversation today to offer the care partner perspective.
Should we jump into the questions that we got? We got a couple good ones this week, and we invited Ken to join us because of the nature of one of these questions, and we'll dive into it now. Okay, so here's the question. This comes from a person who asked to be identified only by their initial L. L wrote in, "I'm dealing with the issue of not having any family wanting to plan for my husband should I die first." This is from a care partner. "I don't plan on this happening, but I'm also a realist and want to have decisions I can make now completed and the resources I can identify in place to keep his life as healthy and rewarding as it can be without me. I also need to have something like this in place in the event that I remain alive but incapable of making decisions. We're both older than 65, younger than 70. Neither one of us is really ready to live in a retirement community or assisted living facility. We're downsizing, moving closer to the medical community where my husband receives his Parkinson's care. The challenge I'm having now is identifying who to appoint to make living decisions and take my husband to medical appointments, etc., should I become incapable. This could involve moving him to a facility or having a team of caregivers come to the residence. I just feel like this is too big of a burden to put on my extended family. I'd love to hear your thoughts." So we thought inviting Ken to join us for this conversation had some merit because these are obviously considerations that a care partner have maybe a different perspective on than we with Parkinson's might have on that, Heather, Kat, and I. So anyway, what do we think about this?
Yeah, this is a great question. I can identify with it as a care partner to someone with Parkinson's, and I think many other care partners can as well. Kat and I have been living with Parkinson's and we're going on our 12th year?
I think we're going into our 12th year.
And we've made changes in our lifestyle because of Parkinson's. And we made a couple of changes, not just one, but we made several kind of pivotal changes. And one was, I think, addressing exactly what this L is writing in about. And I immediately go to talking about how we assembled our living trust. We really didn't take care of any, legal documents and decisions about who's going to take care of who when one person goes before the other until we had this thing of Parkinson's be introduced to us. We've talked about it a lot ahead of time, but we never really executed on it, and we finally did. I will say when we went to do our trust, we tried to do it during COVID, and that was not a good time to do it because you couldn't get the notaries to sign anything. And so we ended up having to wait till after the pandemic to successfully execute on it and get completed. What it required us to do and me as a care partner, was to have some pretty difficult conversations with our kids who we wanted to be making some decisions for us in our end of life situations. And we have 3 adult children. They're young adults. And I feel fortunate that we have a great relationship with them to be able to have those kind of conversations. So planning ahead like that is a definite must. I mean, it's very important. I also think just the fact that you're doing a trust or making these will kind of decisions and end of life and caring for one another. If one of you goes before the other, it's not a one and done thing. We made our decisions like 5 years ago, I think it was. We got all of our paperwork in a row, but we also realize that that may change next year. It may change 5 years from now. We may need to reassign who we're going to make those decisions.
I think having the conversations is the most important part and thinking about it. And I think they're hard conversations to have. Nobody wants to be thinking about the what ifs, but for us, putting that in play and trying to think it through as best we can. And then there's an element also of you make the best plan you have at the time, and that plan may need to change. You have to be able to pivot if you need to or if you want to. And it depends on your states. I know Heather's got some insight too. Heather moved across the country and switched insurance. We're in the process of doing that. It takes a lot of time and energy talking about some of this stuff. And rules are different in different states.
And don't beat yourself up if you decide to change direction. I mean, just a few years ago, when Kat and we made a lifestyle change, and we moved into a brand new house that we thought, we knew was great for us. One story, no stairs, wide enough doorways for ADA accessibility of everything.
It checked all the ADA boxes.
It checked all those boxes. And we lived there for a couple of years, and we're like, this is not working for us.
We're not quite ready for this.
We are not ready for this. And so
yeah.
We've been looking at living more rurally, and we decided to do that. And we have had conversations with immediate family members, and the feedback of, you are crazy to do that. You are further away from hospitals. You are further away from healthcare. You are further away from grocery stores. You are now living in a house with a stairwell, and that just doesn't make sense. Well,
now, mind you, we have a bedroom and a bathroom on the main floor. So,
right. So there's trade-offs. There are trade-offs, and for me as a care partner, I have to assess the risk and the trade-off. What is a risky lifestyle today versus a risky lifestyle maybe 5 years from now and 10 years from now, and how to plan ahead for that. We are living in a spot that works well for us now, and it can work well for us 5 years from now or 10 years from now, depending on how Kat's Parkinson's progresses.
Or Ken's health.
My health progresses.
We're also the best laid plans, right? When we moved into the Airstream, we had all of the contingencies talked about for my Parkinson's. But literally the day we moved in, Ken got tackled and had a complex ankle fracture, right? Shoot, that wasn't something we workshopped. That wasn't part of the plan.
And living again?
No, exactly.
And that happened
Planning for a pandemic that we didn't know would happen. How many of you had to pivot for that?
Yeah.
Heavens knows, right?
Yeah.
I don't think we're helping Elle at all. I think Elle is saying, what kind of advice is that?
I guess what I'm saying as a care partner, make your decision as best and your choices as best as you can for right now, but anticipate that you will likely need to change them years down the road.
There's another layer to what you said too, though, which is that, there's a certain element of to know what's best for now, you kind of have to do some maybe have some hard conversations, maybe do some planning. And, if you don't think that it's if you don't think bringing that up to Bob or Sally is the right move, you're probably right. And so maybe you need to talk to Ernie and Daphne instead. But the challenge then maybe really becomes, if the first people you think of maybe aren't the right fit, you don't feel great about it, maybe it's better to think about somebody else that might be in the mix for you.
And talking to people who are living a lifestyle that we like and that we can relate to. We talked to a cousin of ours who was living a retired lifestyle that we thought seemed aligned with our values, that we could right-size our budget like she right-sized her life, and it was worth it for her to do that on the early end to try to live rather than maybe my other cousins who won't do that until they're, they have millions in retirement, right? Does that make sense? Align yourself, you know your village, and those that are maybe not 65 to 70, but maybe your peer group who are in their 80s. What are they doing, or how are they living? Are they aligned? I don't know. Ken, what do you think about that?
What Parkinson's has done in the past
10 years.
10 years is it's made me realize I am very agile. I am flexible. I am a problem solver. Kat and I together are problem solvers, and we can get through just about anything that's been put before us. Yeah. And it's made me more confident in my skills, in those skills of ours. And so it's helped me not have to think so far down the line, and you can get into worry fatigue. And decision fatigue, and making sure I have all the bases covered. I've realized I am not going to have all the bases covered, and that's okay.
It's almost like you have to be a little bit prepared to work on a sort of general, resilience isn't the right word, but a general sort of fortitude to approach the challenges that come as they come. And I think maybe I would add to that thought you just shared, which I took to mean it's about resilience and sort of believing in yourself, building that strength and recognizing the things you can do. But I think there's also a way in which building a community that can do that sort of thing with you is also maybe important to me anyway. I don't want to go through this alone. I don't really want to do this just with my partner, because I think I guess in some way I don't feel like that'd be fair to her to ask her to take on everything. So I'm trying to make sure my friends know what's going on, that my family, in as much as I can, my extended family, know what's going on, because I mean, who knows?
Our adult children are on board with, the plan. They're part of the conversation also. And we're back to that. You've got to have conversations. Heather, what do you think? Because, you've done a lot of this too in terms of planning, and
the language that we use matters a lot. I was talking with a friend the other day. We were sitting watching something. There was somebody famous on TV, and she leaned over and said, "I bet she's a lot. It would be hard to be her partner. You'd have to be the person who does everything for her, and you'd sort of have to recede a bit. They'd have to let you shine." I don't want to say which celebrity it happened to be, because it doesn't matter. But Parkinson's is like that celebrity. Kind of takes over. Like when you mentioned that Ken really had a severe injury while you're on your trip, Ken had to sort of, put that injury second. Although you didn't make that happen. You made sure that you took care of his injury, and despite all the other things that had to happen. But like, what if two people with Parkinson's are together, for example? I've had a lot of instances like that. I went to see a friend in Utah, and he had a hand surgery, and he was also really severely frozen many times, and he couldn't help me. I couldn't help him. We were so frustrated, we started arguing. We were fighting with each other. So I thought to myself, oh, I bet she's a lot. Like, I'm a lot. He's a lot. We're a lot together. You kind of need to bring a third person. Kind of like when two people who like to drink go out all night. You have to grab somebody to pull the ripcord. You can't just go out and do it. So you can't have both people screaming. So I like how you describe each other. Like the yin and yang is really nice there. And Chris, I'm sure that in your relationship, even though you mentioned that it's a lot for her, she must be very grounded in certain ways. Not because you're a lot.
Well, I am a lot. And this also, she is, in many respects, she is more grounded than I am. Certainly doesn't catastrophize in the way that I can sometimes do. I'm
really good at catastrophizing. It's a special skill. My daughter just had to calm me down to get me online, because I tried for 20 minutes before I got online. I just want to say, getting the family to assemble to talk about healthcare, and even though they're well-intentioned, they want to help you. Getting everybody together is like herding cats. So when you do have a plan, when you get your healthcare plan together, your executor and all that jazz, make sure you have a backup for your backup, because they might have a breakdown the same time that they need to get you to the emergency room. That's happened, Like they want to participate. They say that they will, and they mean it, but they might not be able to.
Redundancies are important in every plan. And since we've moved rurally, we have really valued and talked more about redundancies on many levels. And that includes what we're doing with our healthcare plans or advanced directives, or, that's part of that, what Ken was saying, kind of that agility, that agile, being able to be agile. And so that's why community is so critical with this chronic disease stuff.
I feel like we've maybe not addressed this concern that some people would have, which is I don't have anybody that I really want to that I can really connect with on this level. I don't know who to go to, and that to some extent, although I mentioned friends and my partner, to some extent, I sort of feel that myself. I'm like, I don't really. First of all, it's a little bit about me. I'm a little like I'm not like a control freak necessarily, but I really do want to sort of know what's going to happen, and that makes me feel like I don't know who I would want to put in charge of this of decisions for me if I needed somebody to help me. And then I think some people may not even have an option. So I think that's the kind of harder side of this is what if you can't let go? What if you don't have anybody to let go to? I think there's a tension that can happen in some other circumstances than the ones that maybe we've been talking about so far that are a different layer of challenge that I think some people in the audience might be having.
Mm-hmm. I just want to say that with that kind of a thing, it's hard to know what to say. One time my brother was at my house, and I don't think he'd be upset with me sharing this. I was bleeding, I had fallen on the floor. He came in to help me, and he was rushing home from work. He had a million things going on, because everybody has a million things going on, This stuff doesn't happen in a vacuum. It's not like he was being a jerk when he said, I don't know what to do. I started screaming, and then he started screaming. He said, I don't know what to do. I said, I don't either. Lying there screaming at each other. It's hard to know what to do.
And I think having some of those conversations with who's in your life and being able to exactly say where you are, Heather, I think that's powerful. He was frustrated because he wanted to help you. You were frustrated because you were experiencing it. And I think being able to talk, you were talking about it though. And perhaps I'm conjecturing, Heather, the next thing probably that happened was, okay, this is where I think I am. Okay, I think I need to take a couple deep breaths. But you're even able to communicate that. Setting up the stage to have communication around hard decisions is part of that practice. And we have made that part of our practice in our family. We have had hard decisions around integrating our son's diabetes into our lives. And sometimes probably that took up too much of the stage at dinner, but it was part of our conversation. It laid kind of the ground rules for us not getting defined by those things. And our family's gotten good at asking those hard questions and talking about those hard things. And I think that's what you start defining when you're navigating a chronic illness. I think that's part of our responsibility as the person living with Parkinson's to say what you need. Sure.
Yeah. And as a care partner, it is very important to have Kat, my person with Parkinson's, tell me what she needs, because when I anticipate, 90% of the time I'm anticipating incorrectly because I think she needs something or wants some help with something and she really doesn't. And it's much easier when she asks me for assistance or asks me to do something, even not Parkinson's related. There are times where I think she wants this thing put on this bookshelf this way, and I get it totally wrong, right? I should have just waited until Kat told me or asked me, hey, can you help me with this? Or I'd like your assistance with this. I think as a care partner, when we get introduced to living with Parkinson's, at least for me, my immediate need was to try to be as proactive as possible. And sometimes being proactive backfires. Many times it backfires. And especially with the communication piece, I just need to pause and wait and be a little more quiet and let my person with Parkinson's, aka Kat, bring up the topic.
Like patience. Imagine that. Mm-hmm. What is this thing called patience?
And that may be a little bit back to that fighting thing, right? So I'm so fiercely independent. I want to do it myself, and I want to do it myself for as long as I can. And there's a dance that happens with the people that you live with. If I'm crossing into something that's getting dangerous, I need to be able to hear and listen to my care partner saying, Kat, I'm no longer comfortable with you going roller skating. getting on a ladder, wearing those high heels.
And he's like, but then I have to pay for it, the deal when you fall. I have to deal with it.
Right. And whether that's your care partner who you've lived with and your partner in life, or your roommate, or your brother coming in to help you while you're lying on the floor, or your neighbor coming by, we've got to learn to listen to those that are trying to help us also. And that's part of the dance that happens for all of us, the care partner and the person with Parkinson's.
Do you listen to your partner, Chris, when she tries to help you?
I was just gonna go down this road and say, this is I'm fairly particular about a lot of things in my life, and so it's sometimes hard for me to let go. Yeah, right. To let go of some control is a little hard for me, and so this is part of why I'm a little concerned for my partner in particular. I look at the way I act sometimes. I'm like, man, I'm really unpleasant. I think she would probably agree with that. And I think it's a challenge for a lot of people, in particular people with Parkinson's who experience a lot of loss of in a lot of different ways. And I think I know a lot of people, myself included, who want to try to hold on to a lot of the control when they can. And I think there's value in that, but there's also a way that can be very disruptive to relationships. And I think me and my partner have begun to experience some of that trouble. And so it's definitely something that we, and mostly I think I need to work on, is to be more comfortable letting go of something that I don't need to do, and maybe, if necessary, asking her to take care of something that I might not really, in my own, if all things were equal, I might not want her to do it. But given the circumstances, she probably should, and it would probably be better for everyone if I would let go. And so that's a challenge for me personally. And so that's kind of the flip side of what has been said so far. I know I should do it, and it's just a matter of actually executing on that. So, Kat, you maybe started to point us towards another question that we had received, which kind of points back to another conversation we had a couple episodes ago. Can we go to that next question?
Let's do it.
Yeah, I want to make sure we covered
Elle's
questions fully. There was something in there. I think I mentioned about her question. I sensed, Elle, you're trying to do everything perfect. Don't set yourself up that way as a care partner. Look at it as doing your best decision now, and don't beat yourself up if 5 years from now you look back and you pivot and just don't beat yourself up about that way, because all you can do is make the best decision now and make sure your needs are included in that. And you're not just making the decision on your person with Parkinson's. It also needs to be congruent with you.
Yeah, I might even bring that a little further forward and say that even like today, you might be making the right decision that works for you today, not 5 years down the road. And then tomorrow it could be very different. And if you fail tomorrow, well, I don't know. It's just, what are you going to do? You tried. And so I think you get things set up as best you can, but whether you're a person with Parkinson's or a care partner, you're going to make a mistake along the line that whatever you're trying to accomplish. So it's hard to let go of that feeling that I want to get this right, especially when there's so much on the line.
I totally get that feeling. It's because you love your person with care partner, your person with Parkinson's. You're in love with this person. You've been in a long-term relationship with this person, and you want you want the best for them, and
you want the best for you. This is why we stand for each other.
It's important as the care partner to realize part of making sure what's best for them is also including yourself in that. Because I know Kat, it's like she doesn't want me to give up things that I want to do. She wants me to continue.
Like firefighting.
Exactly.
Thank you for that too, by the way. You're always in service. You're always thinking about other people.
I'm winning because he comes home in his uniform.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
So if some of the listeners don't realize, I think they might know, but I've retired from a career, an IT career, doing software development and manage application development teams. And I'm pursuing a lifetime passion of wanting to be a first responder firefighter.
The
And,
uniform is so much better than the IT uniform, I'm just going to say.
And I couldn't have done it if I didn't have the support of my person with Parkinson's with me and sitting in my corner and cheering me on and encouraging me to do it.
Oh,
Your love is so lovely. I vomit if I think
It
about
is
you guys.
Valentine's, isn't it?
You guys are just making me sick. It's so beautiful. But I love you.
I hope
Just kidding.
we answered your question or helped answer your question. And I'm comfortable moving on to the next question.
All right, let's hit it. So this question comes from Kim. Kim writes, I just listened to a recent episode where you spoke about the way your perspective on Parkinson's has changed over the years, and you talked about exhaustion in that episode too. I'm particularly interested in the conversation about fighting against Parkinson's. In an effort to be supportive, people often say things like, you got this, you're a fighter, you will beat this, keep fighting. And while I feel I'm living fairly well with Parkinson's right now, I also know with 100% certainty that I don't got this. I am not going to beat this, and if I keep fighting, I can only lose. Part of my message that I share about Parkinson's is that I'm not fighting Parkinson's. I'm partnering with it, not happily, but out of necessity, to live the best life I can. I don't like it, but I have to respect it or it'll take me down. And that question comes from Kim. So it's not really a question, I guess, so much as a comment that I think we could maybe stand to talk about a little bit, which is, especially while we have Ken here, I thought this was a nice question to talk about because I think there's a way in which we have not had a conversation with a care partner about this subject of like, what does fighting mean to you as a care partner, and how do you experience this for yourself and for, your person with Parkinson's?
I just thought of an analogy because I was talking about my recent lifetime desire of becoming a firefighter. And when I started learning about firefighting, taking my coursework and doing my practicals in field work, I soon realized that the first thing of firefighting is you're not fighting the fire. You are actually protecting life, and you're protecting property, and you're protecting surroundings. And the first thing you're doing is you're protecting yourself before anything. And you don't run into a fire right away. You assess the situation. So I immediately learned that firefighting is not fighting. It's learning about the fire that's going on, how it's behaving, and how to best safely put it out, right?
or manage it.
Or manage it from spreading. So the concept of fighting it is, I think it sets myself up to not be able to approach it calmly and intuitively. I don't want it to be a battle with Parkinson's. And by fighting, it's setting, from my perspective as a care partner with Parkinson's, it's setting up a competition with me with this disease. And I don't want it to be a competition because I need to be able to live with it and to figure out a comfortable lifestyle for myself with Parkinson's in it.
Mm-hmm. The fighting early in diagnosis for me, a little bit of that idea of fighting kept me engaged in the physical part of things. And I had to work through kind of the grief around it. And I didn't use the analogy fighting necessarily because I've been such a passive human in terms of the fight part, but I needed some spunk to keep me in the game initially. And I think that helped. However, the idea of fighting, it being an opponent, started to become very undesirable for me because it was saying that there's a piece of me that I'm living with every day that I'm at war with. And I don't want to be at war. I don't want to spend my energy feeling like I'm battling against something. I want to find a way to navigate and put energy into being more peaceful with living with this disease. It doesn't mean I have to like it. It doesn't mean I stop wanting to be involved in a cure and an advocacy, but it means that I'm more peaceful. I want to spend my days doing things that bring me joy and not in battle.
I guess that's it. And that works well. And I want a care partner who's not in trying to extinguish mode either, who's taking care of himself first and trusting him to show up when it works for him, so I'm not having to worry about him also.
Yeah, and another firefighter analogy is the first thing we do when we get called to the fire hall is we put on our bunker gear or our personal protective equipment, our PPE.
Yeah.
Before we go into anything, we protect ourselves. And that's what a care partner needs to do with this Parkinson's. You have got to first protect yourself before you can protect or help somebody, your person with Parkinson's. Be effective, to be effective and successful.
This is actually a way I wanted to try to go in this conversation, if we could. You're pointing in exactly a question that I actually have for Ken and Kat, if I can ask it.
Please do.
You guys seem like you're, after multiple years of Parkinson's, a complicated experience of Parkinson's in a lot of ways too, on top of the family life challenges of having a child that had a health concern that was their own significant health concern, right? You still seem to really like each other. You still seem to be a team. And that's not easy regardless of Parkinson's. So I'm wondering if you have any sort of, like, how do I do it?
We talk about what we want to do to bring us joy and try to find some ways to do that. And we continue to be invested in what we share, but also supporting the other guy to go do things that they want to do. I don't know. I wish I had a formula. I just know that it's worked for us.
It's not always like that. Trust me. I'll give you an example. I mean, here's a perfect example, and getting kind of back to Elle's question and my suggestion of like, make the best decision you can make today, because something else is going to come up and you're going to need to pivot, and you're not going to realize it. You're not going to be able to cover everything. You can't. We just had yesterday, we had a difficult conversation around.
She's pinching him. She's saying, shut up. Stop it.
No, I'm saying I don't remember what this was.
No, so I'm working part-time, and we sat down and we were having lunch, and Kat was asking me about, how's your morning going, your calls, your meetings, and blah, blah, blah. And I started like just dumping, like, oh, it's the morning hasn't been going this well, blah, blah, blah. And she made a comment about something like, I'm envious that you can work. And it caught me off guard. It just was like, how insensitive of myself. As a care partner and just as a human being, that comment could have been really triggering for me. And I ended up in the conversation, thanking Kat for surfacing that, because I wasn't realizing how much of my sharing about my work, how impactful it is on somebody who can't work, who can't have a job that she loved. So it's not all
roses, but us talking about it, I think that's what makes the difference. That I'm feeling it, that I was able to share it, he was able to hear it. Neither of us were raging at each other, and we still woke up married today.
Yeah. So that's just an example. I hope that that's a concrete enough example to explain how it's, the relationship, it's not good all the time. Mm-hmm. There's always things to tackle.
My kids have never met me well. They've never known their mother well. They've never met a healthy person as their mother, and it's sad for them. And now that I'm having some memory problems too, and probably heading in that direction, boy, am I going to be a handful. I was already a handful to begin with. So they're putting up with this a lot. My daughter lets me be myself, though. She said to me, Mom, I'm not leaving you. I said, but you have things you got to do. You have a whole life ahead of you. You just finished your degree. You want to be a naturopath. You're going to be an herbalist. You're brilliant at what you're doing. You have a boyfriend. You have a life. She said, Mom, next 5 years are going to be big. I'm going to spend them with you. You're giving me a lot, too. Her love has changed me. It has alchemized my thinking about this from feeling like I'm a burden to, maybe I have something to give back. Maybe I have something.
Love. Mm-hmm. Okay. So
unconditional.
There you have it. That's a big part of managing this is unconditional love and
taking care of ourselves and each other, but not at the expense of each other.
Yes.
As I think about the way we can move forward and sort of maintain relationships after the question I asked, I think it's about maintaining a sort of ability to be open and converse, but also to be open to the joy that can come even from a really difficult situation if you pay attention to each other.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I've noticed about Kat and Ken. They're very present. Very present. First time I met both of them, it was like shockingly, like they're right there with you listening. While you're talking, you're their whole world. You're right. Make you feel very important. You do that too, Chris. Thank you. I'm a little more, hello, squirrel. You're still important. You're just picking up too much other stuff.
But we do, and we do try to make space for the hard stuff, and I think that's the piece that seems to be the toughest for a lot of people, is talking about the real deep feelings of insecurity, hurt, resentment, death and dying. I mean, we don't talk a lot about death and dying, don't talk about it all the time, but we've had those conversations. Yeah.
As a care partner, I think this, even in any partnership relationship, you need the listening and the communicating. It's all about being able to communicate and listen to each other's about your core values and just staying aligned to that. And I know for Kat and I, we know each other's core values, and they're not the same, and that's okay, but we align to it. And many times when we have these difficult conversations, we could use the one I brought up about Kat making a comment to me, "I'm envious that you can work."
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about that as to our core values when we had the more in-depth conversation about it. And we were able, by focusing on that piece, we were able to work through it.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't comfortable. I cried.
Mm-hmm.
I sobbed. And I don't do that.
Thank you for not taking that as a criticism, Ken. Thank you for not being defensive. That's huge.
Yeah. That is a really easy reaction to a comment like that, is to be very resentful.
Yep.
And defensive. It didn't go that direction, and I am grateful.
I'm really grateful for you for joining the conversation and contributing your insights. And you've helped me personally, and I hope you've helped the listeners too. All three of you have. And we'll look forward to getting back into your feeds here soon with another episode. And yeah, thanks everybody.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Parkinson's Podcast Unfiltered. Remember, if you'd like to send a question to Heather and Kat, you can do so by visiting dpf.org/unfiltered. That's dpf.org/unfiltered. This content includes information, insights, and opinions from our Parkinson's community. The views expressed are those of individual participants and do not constitute medical advice. This content is not intended to substitute for the guidance, advice, or recommendations of your personal healthcare providers.